Rush hour. Osaka, Japan. A Monday morning. A commuter train is carrying hundreds of people to work. Anxious over connections, many of the passengers are unaware this will be their last journey, until it's too late. Disasters don't just happen, they're triggered by a chain of critical events. Unravel the clues and count down those final seconds from disaster. Japan. The Fukuchiyama railway line, Hyogo Prefecture. April the 25th, 2005. It's rush hour. The platforms are packed. 8:53. Ryujiro Takami is 23 and has been a driver for 11 months. Takarazuka Station. For rapid train 5418M, it's the end of the line. The train has a driver's cab at either end. Driver Takami and 42-year-old conductor Masatoshi Matsushita swap positions so the train can head back down the line for the return journey. 9:03. Rapid train 5418M's final destination is Amagasaki, 7 stops down the track, where many commuters will take connections into the city of Osaka. Boarding carriage 2 at Takarazuka is 35-year-old editor Satoshi Ugura.
I took that train every day to commute to the company I work for in Osaka, and I always sat in the same spot in the second carriage.
Every day, the city of Osaka swells by 1.1 million people. Most of them are traveling from towns and suburbs via a network of railway lines. This is one of the largest metropolitan areas in the world.
I'd been traveling in the same way, in the same carriage, almost every day for 4 years, so I recognized the faces of the people around me. I had headphones on and I was listening to music. The train moved off and I fell asleep.
9:11. Kawanishi Ikeda Station. The platform is busy. A few extra passengers squeeze on. The intricate Japanese timetables mean the train has to arrive at its next destination to the second. (9:13 a.m.) Rapid train 5418M is not scheduled to stop at the next station. It hurtles past the platform at 120 kilometers per hour. Carriage 5. 19-year-old student Tomokazu Chatani is on his way to university in Kyoto Prefecture.
So, it was a perfectly normal day. It just felt like the start of another week.
Tomokazu is starting a new term.
The orientations were over, and from that day, from that week onwards, the real classes were beginning.
As the train approaches the next station, Itami, an alarm activates inside the driver's cab. Rapid train 5418M is over the speed limit. Driver Takami either doesn't notice or chooses to ignore the warning. At the back of the train, the conductor realizes they're approaching Itami Station too fast. He reaches for the emergency brake. But driver Takami beats him to it, activating his brake lever just in time. The train comes to an abrupt stop at Itami Station.
I'd never felt a train brake as hard as that one did at Itami Station, ever. I was really surprised. Even though I was reading, I was surprised enough that I really noticed it.
The train has overshot the platform by the length of more than 3 carriages. The driver calls the conductor on the internal phone system.
今バックして定時に戻しますので。
Well, the fifth carriage stopping in the position of the first carriage is something that would normally never happen.
9:15 a.m. While the train reverses, conductor Matsushita makes an announcement.
ご乗車のお客様、電車はただいま後退しております。お気をつけください。どうしてだろう。
電車がバックするっていうこと自体は。I'd never been on a reversing train before, so that in itself was surprising for me. But it was a shock to think that the train had overshot so far that it had to reverse.
9:16. The train is now running 1 minute 20 seconds late.
After we left Itami, I was jolted as the train left the station. I felt that the driver was in a hurry.
The train hurtles towards Amagasaki Station.
I thought that something was strange, that the train was going a bit fast.
9:18. Carriage 2.
The rattling and vibration on the train became very violent. That's mainly what woke me up.
There was a faraway, rumbling noise.
The next moment, it felt like the train ran over something. There was a bang and everything flipped over.
The lights suddenly went out, and it was really dark. Pretty dark.
From where I was sitting, I was thrown straight ahead in a straight line. Everyone was thrown in the same direction, in that confined space, and I was thrown alongside them. I remember people were underneath me, being thrown along with me.
The carriage rocked violently. If I hadn't been holding on to something, I wouldn't have been able to withstand it. I got the impression that the standing passengers were falling into each other. I think a lot of them did.
I must have hit something and stopped, but I have no memory of it. No memory of hitting anything.
I was terrified. I didn't know what had happened.
The train has crashed into an apartment block just outside Amagasaki Station. Driver Ryujiro Takami is dead. Satoshi Ogura is trapped inside badly damaged carriage 2. His right leg is caught.
It was so quiet at first, you couldn't imagine anyone was alive. There was one person, she was right in front of me. And she said, "My child is here. Please find my child." After a little while, I got the impression that people were starting to move. After enough of them had moved, I was able to free my leg. I pulled out a train seat near my leg, and after that I was able to free my leg easily.
Satoshi is finally free. He searches for the missing child. Despite having a broken ankle, Satoshi lifts her out of the wrecked carriage.
Of course, it's wonderful the child was saved. But in that situation, people survive purely by chance.
Satoshi is hospitalized. His ankle is broken, and he suffered a serious neck injury. 4 carriages of rapid train 5418M have come off the tracks outside Amagasaki Station. The front carriage has slammed inside the parking garage of an apartment block next to the railway line. Carriage 2 is crushed in an L shape around the outside of the building.
As time went on, the faces of those I knew from the second carriage appeared among those of the dead. That was a huge shock.
The Amagasaki disaster leaves 562 injured and 107 dead, with 99 of the fatalities coming from the front two carriages. Now, by rewinding the events of that day and going deep into the investigation, we can reveal what led to Japan's worst rail disaster in more than 40 years. The original accident inquiry is conducted by the Japan Transport Safety Board, the JTSB. With 8.3 million commuters using this rail network every day, they need to find out why the train crashed before tragedy strikes again. They start scouring the site for clues. It's a process Jeff Thorne has been through countless times. As a former UK rail accident investigator, he's reviewing the findings of the official accident report.
When a train derails, there are a number of causes for that derailment. One could be that the train is defective in some way. Another could be the track is defective. And an accident investigator needs to gather evidence from both.
The first thing investigators do at the Amagasaki site is to take a look at the track. They discover a key piece of evidence. Pulverized rock across parts of the rail suggests an unnerving possibility: deliberate sabotage.
Looking for evidence of vandalism is one of the things that is going to be investigated quite significantly and seriously. Putting stones on a railway track is one of the things that the investigators are going to look at. It would need quite a lot of stone to make a significant impact on the train and cause it to derail. But nevertheless, it is a possibility.
Vandals have caused other train derailments in Japan. In 1980, on the Keihan Electric Railway, a group of junior high school students placed a block of concrete on the tracks. The first two carriages of a passenger train derailed and crashed into a house, injuring 104 people. If the Amagasaki crash was caused by vandals, the culprits are still out there. But analysis of the crushed stone found at the crash site eliminates this theory.
Crushed stone on the top of the track was the same as the ballast which holds the track in place. That was an important conclusion.
Ballast is the small granite stones laid alongside and underneath a railway track to hold it in place. The investigators conclude that as the front of the train derailed, the wheels plowed through the ballast and threw it all over the track. The carriages at the back of the train then ran over and crushed the stones, leaving traces on the rails.
The crushed stone didn't cause the accident, it was a consequence of the accident occurring.
Vandalism is quickly dismissed as a cause of the crash. But the examination of the track does lead to new speculation. Rapid train 5418M derailed at the beginning of a sharp bend in the railway line, a curve which delivers trains straight into Amagasaki Station. Amagasaki is a vital hub feeding commuters into the city of Osaka.
Osaka is one of Japan's major metropolitan areas and therefore a major commuter hub. People are coming in and out from west, from east, from north and south, every direction, every day.
Dr. Louisa Rubenthien is an expert on the Japanese train system.
The rail system in Japan carries almost half the population of Japan every day. So it's intimately involved in everybody's life.
Japanese commuters have high expectations of the system.
So the timetables are very, very intricate. One train meets another, and that next train will leave within a matter of seconds or minutes, and people count on being able to make their connections.
Rail records reveal that in 1997, train company JR West modified the curve into Amagasaki Station. The radius was reduced by half, from 600 to 304 meters.
So the reason that they sharpened the curve in 1997 and sharpened it so dramatically was because they were trying to accommodate a new line that would take people more efficiently, more rapidly, more directly into Osaka.
When they sharpened the Amagasaki curve, JR West also overhauled the timetable.
That line became known as the tightest timetable in the area.
The new JR West schedule leaves no room for error. Rapid train 5418M needs to be at Amagasaki exactly on time, so passengers can make their connections into Osaka.
People have very little patience for late trains in Japan. On time in Japan means literally within the seconds, within that precise minute that the train is supposed to be there.
So the sharp curve and the tight timetable are part of an efficient railway service. But investigator Jeff Thorne wants to know if the curve played a role in the accident.
The curve outside Amagasaki Station is just over 300 meters radius. That's a fairly tight curve, but it can be negotiated quite safely, providing the speed limit is adhered to.
The speed a train takes on the curve is critical.
If a train is travelling round a curve much too fast, basic physics will just cause the train to topple over.
Early on in the investigation, the train's data recorder, or black box, is found in the wreckage. It records the time and speeds of the train. The data recorder of Rapid Train 5418M reveals it was traveling at 116 kilometers per hour as it entered the curve. To discover if this is too fast, the JTSB investigators run a series of simulations. They realize a train will derail on the Amagasaki curve at 106 kilometers per hour.
It was inevitable that the train was going to derail and tip over.
So speed, combined with a sharp curve, is the key factor in this deadly accident. The speed limit on the curve outside Amagasaki Station is 70 kilometers per hour. Jeff Thorne wants to know why Rapid Train 5418M was traveling at over 40 kilometers per hour, faster than the speed limit.
Accident investigators are always very aware that system faults can occur, equipment can fail, but they're equally aware that humans enter into the equation.
To shed light on the driver's actions, the JTSB investigators take a statement from the conductor. It reveals an unusual incident at the beginning of the journey. This is his testimony.
At around 8:53, we stopped sharply just before Takarazuka Station.
The driver has run a red light, and the train is brought to a halt by a safety system, ATS, or automatic train stop. As a result, it departs Takarazuka Station 15 seconds late. At the next station, Itami, the train overshoots the platform by over 3 car lengths.
On our arrival at Itami, I thought that as cars 5 and 6 passed the start of the platform, we were going a bit fast.
The driver has to reverse the train back into the station. By the time it departs, it's now running 1 minute 20 seconds late. And the train running late is not the driver's only problem.
The driver of the train had overrun the platform at the last station, and this was against JR regulations. The rules said that the conductor had to report the overrun right away and explain it to the supervisor.
Because of the overrun at Itami Station, the driver knows he's now facing disciplinary action. The conductor's statement also reveals that shortly after leaving Itami, the driver calls him on the train's internal phone system.
I can't remember exactly what he said to me, but it was something like, "Please overlook my mistake." I thought to myself, he wants me to report the distance that we overshot as being less than it really was.
The driver was extremely concerned about the overrun and was trying to convince the conductor to underplay it.
As they're talking, a passenger interrupts to complain about the delay in the schedule.
So I just said to the driver, "You're going too fast." Put down the receiver and opened the door to the passenger. The driver probably thought the conductor hung up on me. He's angry with me.
The conductor has no choice but to report the overrun to the main control room. And JR West regulations stipulate he has to do it immediately.
At that time, I thought we'd overshot by about 30 to 40 meters. I'd heard that if a driver only overshot by about 5 meters, that the punishment wasn't too severe. The distance definitely wasn't as little as 5 meters, so I reported that it was 8 meters.
As the conductor makes his report, the driver can hear it over the radio in his cab. All this speaks to the state of mind of the young driver heading into the curve. But when JTSB investigators analyze the black box data, it reveals that 4 seconds before derailment, the driver does hit the brake. What's not clear is why this brake action fails to stop the speeding train. Dr. Ryo Tagaki is a transport engineer in Tokyo. He studied the JTSB accident investigation report.
There are 3 broad categories of brakes that could be controlled by the driver with respect to the train involved in the accident. One of the 3 types is called the service brake, which is the brake that's normally used to stop the train. Another type of brake is the emergency brake.
Investigators recover elements of the braking system from the wreckage. Analysis reveals there is no mechanical failure. The brakes were working. What is strange is how the driver used them in the critical seconds before derailment.
The driver did not use the emergency brake just prior to the accident.
Hitting the curve at 116 kilometers per hour, just as he was about to derail, the driver instead chose to use the normal service brake.
And even though he was using the service brake, we know that he wasn't using maximum braking power. We don't have a way of knowing why this is the case. Among the reasons considered as to why the emergency brake was not used in this accident, one is that the driver has a duty to report the use of the emergency brake to the company.
The strict company rules may have influenced the driver's actions.
There is a theory that the driver involved in the accident was hesitant to use the emergency brake.
This suggests the culture within the train company may have been a contributing cause of this accident.
The pressures that a company like JR West are under, the need to make as much profit as possible, the need for their trains to run on time with very few delays. These are areas which can make a company begin to lose focus when it comes to safety.
The driver, Ryujiro Takami, was just 23 at the time of the accident and had been a driver for 11 months. His short work record reveals an unusual incident. In June 2004, just 3 weeks after he became a driver, he overran a platform by 100 meters. As his company policy for such an error, his employer, JR West, sent him on a re-education program for 13 days.
Employees went into the re-education program because they had failed in some way, somewhere along the way.
Re-education programs in Japan are part of corporate life.
All right. The idea of using psychological means to educate your employees or even to educate your students in school is not at all unknown. It's regarded as quite reasonable.
Masashi Yasuda is chief secretary of the West Japan Railway Workers Union. Many of his members at JR West have undergone re-education, or Nikkin Kyoiku.
First of all, Nikkin Kyoiku is often handed out to or given to drivers. That's because drivers make mistakes. They overshoot the stop or go through red lights or make the wrong decision in unforeseen circumstances and don't stop when they should. There are all sorts of cases.
But employees sent on Nikkin Kyoiku at JR West do not face a conventional retraining program.
The program was designed to make them aware of the weight of responsibility upon them and of the implications of their failure. But the way that it went about doing this was to berate them, harass them, demean them. It was a very punitive approach.
For the duration of their re-education, employees are forbidden from carrying out their normal jobs. They're not told how long their re-education will last and face financial penalties the longer it goes on. And instead of being effectively retrained, employees are forced to perform menial tasks.
To be specific, they make you clean up pigeon droppings, make you write endless reports, a page an hour.
The unions believe Nikin Kyoiku is about punishment, not retraining.
I think it can be said that it really violates the human rights of the driver who caused the accident, and that it's bullying.
Minoru Kagitani was sent on Nikin Kyoiku for 5 months after being 2 minutes late for a staff meeting.
When I underwent retraining, it was so terrible that I felt, if they continue to attack me in this way, I probably won't last. I'll have to quit and retire from the company.
Kagitani claims he suffered severe mental abuse during his 5 months of Nikin Kyoiku.
During the retraining, I was verbally abused by the managers and even told to quit. I couldn't sense any training aspect when training was performed that way. I kept saying things were fine to my friends too, with some bravado, but in truth, I hated coming to work. The retraining was very tough, honestly.
Ryujiro Takami had been a driver for just 3 weeks when he overran a platform and was sent on Nikin Kyoiku.
The driver on duty in the JR Fukuchiyama line derailment had undergone 13 days of Nikin Kyoiku, and as part of that had been made to write endless essays of repentance, reports.
Yasuda believes the driver's experience of Nikin Kyoiku had a profound impact on him.
I think that the cause of the JR Fukuchiyama line derailment was the fact the driver was afraid of Nikin Kyoiku. And because he never wanted to undergo Nikin Kyoiku again, the driver was speeding, which led to the derailment.
And the JTSB investigation also concluded the train company's practice of Nikin Kyoiku may have been a contributory factor in the crash.
I understand the mindset of the driver who caused the Amagasaki rail crash quite well. Considering the state of retraining at that time, it would be natural for a young man in his 20s who had experienced retraining before to want to avoid it, as this was something that even people of my age group found tough.
So the young driver of Rapid Train 5418M may have been under extreme psychological pressure at the time of the accident.
Even after this accident, J.R. West argued that the re-education program was effective, that its intentions were good.
From a Western perspective, it's difficult to understand how this re-education process could ever really produce results which would enhance the safety of the railway or improve the performance of an employee.
After examining the evidence, we can reveal why a commuter train flew off the tracks outside a suburban Japanese railway station, leaving 107 dead and 562 injured. 10 months to disaster. Train driver Ryujiro Takami attends a controversial re-education program run by train company JR West. The experience may have left him more concerned with avoiding punishment than the task in hand. 25 minutes to disaster. Driven by Takami, Rapid Train 5418M runs a red light outside Takarazuka Station. It's brought to a halt by a safety system known as the Automatic Train Stop, or ATS. Running a red light is the driver's first reportable offense. 4 minutes to disaster. Speeding into Itami Station, the ATS system activates an alarm to warn the driver. The train overshoots the platform. It's the driver's second offense in just over 20 minutes. 2 minutes to disaster. Rapid train 5418M is now running 1 minute 20 seconds late in a schedule where passengers have seconds to make their connections. Driver Takami knows he's already facing disciplinary action. It's possible he's in such a state of panic, he fails to realize his train is dangerously over the speed limit. He enters the tight curve outside Amagasaki Station at 116 kilometers per hour. No ATS system warns him of his error. 4 seconds to disaster. Takami realizes his speed and hits the service brake, but not the emergency brake. It's possible he wants to avoid a third reportable offense. 9:18 a.m. Disaster. "107 passengers lose their lives. But despite the driver's error, the accident could have been prevented. An ATS safety system should have stepped in to save the driver and his passengers. ATS did come to the driver's aid earlier on the day of this disaster. But although it was installed on other parts of the Fukuchiyama line, in 2005, there were no ATS sensors installed at curves. In Japan, at the time of this accident, JR West were not legally obligated to have ATS on their lines.
If the enhanced version of ATS had been available for this curve, it's almost certain that the accident would not have happened.
Since the accident, a former JR West president has been acquitted of negligence for the absence of an ATS transponder on the curve. The court ruled the accident could not have been predicted. And the law has now been changed, so Japanese train companies must have ATS installed on curves. JR West still run their re-education program.
There was a need to get as much as possible out of their employees, but the re-education process was one which led them in the wrong direction. It led them away from a safe railway.
JR West's response is that in a competitive environment, the company compares favorably with other rail companies in its commitment to safety. It states that safety is of the utmost importance to it. The company also states it's reassessing its retraining scheme to make it more effective. Finally, it makes clear that speed-restricting measures were in action on the curve in question, but the company did not fully realize the dangers on this section of track. However, there was no speed-restricting hardware installed on this curve at the time of the accident. Satoshi Ogura was one of the few in Carriage 2 to survive.
It took me a very long time to come to terms with the effect this accident had on my life.
I learned how precious life is. Life can be lost in an instant, just like this. I was reminded that you only have one life. I became aware of that.